Let's see. Numbers.
So we're in Numbers. Is it 10? Yeah, I think it's 10.
We're in. So.
Cool. All right, you want to take it or me?
Yeah, Q-Vibes is loading here. All right, here we go.
Oh, okay.
All right, so Yehovah said, let's see how long this is. Okay, it's not very long. Okay. And
Not terrible.
Yehovah spoke to Moshe, saying, Make 2 trumpets of silver, the whole piece out. It looks, the King James is weird, but it looks like it's saying, like, make them out of one big piece of silver, which is, like, still to this day, like a term of artisanry, right? Like wow, you know, I made this chest out of like one tree, or I made this, you know, thing out of one piece of silver. Like it's pretty cool.
It's like you're making a point to do that.
Yeah, totally.
And like especially a practical tool like an instrument to like go out of your way that way. It's like, and that seems to be recurring really in the first sentence, but that recurs throughout not only human history, but the early scripture as well. Early civilizations like really valued, for whatever reason, making things out of one object. And it's like they were supposed to have, right? I mean, they were supposed to have less tools than we have today and less technology, and they're making it harder on themselves by making it out of one thing. That had to be harder. I mean, so I'm always wondering what the significance of that is.
Yeah, dude. Like, we have to admit that people back here and even farther back were creating just as intricate, if not more intricate, artisanry with, you know, at least supposedly far less tools and knowledge.
Yeah.
And they're doing fine.
I mean, that's the understanding. Yeah, I mean.
Anyway, okay, so that you may use them for the calling of the assembly. Okay, so these are for like letting everyone, like getting everyone's attention, I guess. And for the journeying of the camps. Okay, and when they shall sound them, all the assembly shall assemble themselves to thee at the church. Sorry, dude, what a Freudian right there. Tabernacle of the congregation. Wow. And if they sound but with one, so if they only sound one, then the princes which are the heads of the thousands of Israel shall gather themselves to you. And when you sound the alarm, then the camps that lie on the east part shall go forward. And when you sound an alarm the second time, the camps that lie on the south side shall take their journey. They shall blow an alarm for their journey. So this is like very coordinated. But when the congregation is to be gathered together, you shall sound, but you shall not sound an alarm. So there's a differentiation between an alarm sound and a congregation sound. Okay, and the sons of Aaron, the priest, shall blow the trumpets, and they shall be to you an ordinance forever throughout your generations. And if you go to war in your land against the enemy that oppresses you, then you shall blow. It's like a differentiation here between, like, it doesn't say, like, you know, if you're dwelling in peace and you just want to like take over your neighbor's territory, you know, just, you know, it's like if you go to war, i.e. if you're fighting against some people who are oppressing you, like that's what like war is, you know, instead of like conquest, it's like defense.
Right. Yeah. Yes, I see what you mean. And I think this is a testament of how vast they're growing as a group too. That this is what's required for them to do things as a group.
Yeah. True. They're like really becoming an army, you know, to be reckoned with, rather than just a bunch of slaves that escaped, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Which a lot of people probably chalked him up as dead in the desert.
Totally. I mean, Pharaoh did. He was like, "You guys are going where?" Because Moses was like, "We're going to take a 3-day journey into the desert." He's like, I think he said something. He was like, "So you're not taking the women and children?" And Moses was like, "No, we are." And he's like, "Well, you will need Yehovah your God," or something. I think he says something like that. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, it is.
And they shall be remembered before Yehovah your Elohim, and you shall be saved from your enemies. Wow. So it's like, make sure you use these trumpets, and I'll like hear them, and I'll think of you and save you. Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Definitely. A very physical thing going on here.
Yeah.
Very physical relationship at this point in time. Which is amazing. Couldn't imagine what that must have been like to be a part of.
Yeah, what if it was like God like gives you a trumpet, and it's like, all right, this is like your, blow this, and I'll like show up for battle with you type thing,
Yeah.
Okay, so verse 10, also in the day of your gladness and in your solemn days, the beginning of months, you shall blow the trumpets over your burnt offerings, over the sacrifices of your peace offerings, that they may be to you for a memorial before your Elohim. I am Yehovah your Elohim. So the trumpet is for a lot of times, I guess.
Yeah, so this isn't the same tool as, because I know they were using, was it a ram's horn for a while? And I think, so, and this is a silver trumpet.
This is specifically silver.
Yeah.
I feel like, so that's interesting. They said use these silver trumpets at the beginning of months, which would be like the month of Aviv, starting off the year, starting off the spring feast, but over in the fall feast, that seems to be that, because I think they specifically use the shofar for like the Day of Trumpets, for example, which is, I guess, actually the day of like shofars.
Day of Rams. I remember, didn't you have one, or do you still?
I have like a really tiny one.
Yeah. I think it was cool though.
Yeah. I don't even remember like where I got it.
We went really hard in Gainesville there for like Hebrew engagement.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Immersion.
We made so much progress,
which was awesome. Sure. Yeah, we did there for a stretch of Gainesville. We really dived in.
Absolutely. Wow. Let's see, 10, 11, and it came to pass in the 20th day of the second month in the second year. So I guess they kind of just like, did they talk about the actual like second month Passover feast last chapter? I know they were like giving that, as like a plan, but I don't know if it actually like covered it when it rolled around.
I don't remember. I don't think so. I think they just they were talking about it from the perspective of the people who weren't going to be able to participate for being unclean. I don't think they didn't actually describe. I don't. Did they? I don't think so.
Because in 11, it's like, and it came to pass on the 20th day of the second month, and they would have done it on the 14th day, I guess.
Yeah.
So, in the second year that the cloud was taken up from off the tabernacle of the testimony, and the children of Israel took their journeys out of the wilderness of Sinai, and the cloud rested in the wilderness of Paran. Huh.
Oh.
Okay.
So it left the Sinai desert. It moved out, and mine says an interesting way. On the 20th day of the second month of the second year, the cloud was taken up from over the tabernacle of the testimony, and the people of Israel moved out in stages from the Sinai desert. The cloud stopped in the Paran desert. So yes, yeah, interesting. So this was probably the first time they leave the Sinai since they entered it from being denied Canaan.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Well, I was kind of assuming that they had already made their way to Canaan the first time. I still think that, but now I'm wondering if this is their first time. But I thought they had already gotten there by that point in time. I guess we'll see.
Okay, because they are second year. They're almost they're in the second year already. So
yeah, I guess we'll see. But yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. For sure.
Anyway, okay.
Yeah, we'll see.
So they're getting ready to like move.
Yeah, they're in the Paran desert.
In the first place,
I wish I had
Yeah, go ahead.
I just wish I had like a good map that I could just be referencing throughout this whole thing.
Yeah. And that's definitely not impossible because I'm people seem to think, and it seems pretty convincing to me, that we actually know what Mount Sinai was. And it's like a mountain within Saudi Arabia, of course, kind of right on the west coast, like near the Red Sea, like pretty close to where they got on the other side of the Red Sea. And there's like a mountain range in there, and one of the mountains, like the Saudi Arabians call like Jabal al-Lawz. If you wanted to search that, it's still, you could still find it on maps, but it's called like Jabal al-Lawz or something. Jabal.
Okay. Jabal.
Lawz.
Do you know any way to spell that?
Let me see.
That you know.
Let's see. Yeah, so I just did Jebel, and then all like AL, and then Lawz is LAWZ.
Okay. Okay. So this is today's mountain. This is today's name of the mountain.
Yeah.
Modern name.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, definitely a mountain.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, because like the total misconception is that Mount Sinai is somewhere within what's called the Sinai Peninsula, which is a misnomer. Because
there's a go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying, it's definitely actually in Saudi Arabia versus the Sinai Peninsula. At some point, the Catholic Church, well, the Roman, like, royalty disguised as the Catholic leadership, like, pretty much designated some place in the Sinai Peninsula as the real place, and it wasn't, and so that's kind of like thrown everyone off for centuries.
But yeah, I see there is a people also searched for Mount Sinai. Let's click on that Mount Sinai.
Yeah.
So there's a mountain currently labeled Sinai in Egypt.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, that's probably that traditional location that the Catholic Church set. Is it within the Sinai Peninsula?
Yeah. It's let me see.
That's that little like upside down triangle piece of land, like up right above the Red Sea. That's like technically part of Egypt.
I'm still trying to get my maps to cooperate. Let's see. It was searching Mount Sinai churches in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Oh my God! It's just, I thought it wasn't loading, but there's actually just wilderness around it, so it's just great. It's next to, it's right south of St. Catherine.
Yeah, that's definitely like
monastery.
Yeah, that's probably the bullshit one.
It's like yeah, it's like I guess this would be considered Egypt. It's between the Gulf of Suez. It's like
I guess the Gulf of Suez and Gulf of Aqaba. Like that's the Sinai Peninsula that I do not believe is the real location of Sinai. We have Paul over in the New Testament confirming that Sinai was and is in Arabia. We have archaeological evidence that they crossed the Gulf of Aqaba, like that's the Red Sea that they crossed. They didn't really cross like the bulk of the Red Sea. They crossed that little like water tributary or whatever called the Gulf of Aqaba into Arabia. Midian, some more evidence. Moses, that's where Moses and Jethro and Zipporah and all them were for like those 40 years. Over was in Midian, and that area in Arabia is still called Midian to this day.
Okay, and Medina would be the
that's probably where the word comes from. But if you could just say like Midian map 2, and I'm getting the same thing. It's like you know right there on the west coast of Arabia.
Yeah. I couldn't find the Gulf you were trying to point out. I see the Red Sea, of course.
So the Red Sea, and then you see how like the Red Sea has like almost like TV antennas on the top. It's got like two.
Yeah.
So the one on the left is the
Uh-huh.
Gulf of Suez on the Egypt side, and then the one on the
Okay.
Arabia side is called the Gulf of Aqaba. And
Yeah, got
yeah,
that.
and
And they crossed. You're saying that they would have crossed one of those.
yeah,
One of those
I think
smaller
I think they
gulfs.
left what's called Lower Egypt, which ironically is at like the top, which is where Goshen was, and I think they basically went above the Gulf of Suez, and then pushed down.
And kind of like southeast.
Yeah, pushed down into that peninsula, and then they didn't want to go up. They didn't want to go north of the Gulf of Aqaba because there's Etzion Geber at the very tip, and they knew that was a Egyptian military outpost. So they turned south, and I'm pretty sure that's when Pharaoh was like, "We've got them cornered because this is a peninsula." They turned south, and they're walled in by the Red Sea. There's nowhere to go. And then, which
Yeah.
was, the point of the miracle. Then they crossed the Gulf of Aqaba, and that's where we have all these artifacts of the Egyptian army that pursued them, and then they were overtaken.
Yeah. The artifacts are so
And then we
interesting.
find all these Hebrew artifacts
okay.
over in Midian in that mountain range, especially around that one mountain. There's like all these ancient Hebrew artifacts. So presumably that is, you know, the real Mount Sinai and everything.
Cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. I'd love to look at it from this angle.
Yeah, we'll have to do a video on this.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. So, and it's crazy because even in the back of my CJB, it has the historically understood Mount Sinai listed in that peninsula.
Yeah.
It even says,
Yeah, total BS.
in the back
man.
of the CJB.
Total BS, in my opinion, at least.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because that means they would have been circling that mountain on the peninsula.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they wouldn't have crossed the Red Sea, right? I mean, unless they crossed the Sea of Suez
Yeah,
Suez for like prematurely.
That's like the traditional thing that I see most of the time is that they crossed the Gulf of Suez, but they were leaving from Goshen, like way up there. They didn't really have a need to like push down into the heart of Egypt and then try to leave. Like they would have just left, and then it says
like kind of due east.
yeah,
almost.
then it says that they push south because if you go east, you got Philistines up there, you've got Edomites up there. So, and I'm pretty sure it says that, God was worried that if the Israelites saw war right after they left, they would just get scared and turn back. So they pushed south.
Yeah, that I remember that. I remember that he mentions where they navigated a little bit based on that. So yeah, man, there's definitely a case there. That's very interesting because I mean, it seems like pretty much everyone agrees, even Jews, that that's the Mount Sinai.
Totally. Yeah, that's I mean, look, I mean, it's like it's a mountain that's surrounded by, there's literally a big ass rock there that looks like it's been cracked and it's been eroded by, water. That totally looks like the rock that was like water came out of. There's an altar there. There's like pictographs of like, big calf god things. A bunch of ancient Hebrew writing. I mean, it's like everything that, was said to be there.
Yeah. Wow. Could you imagine getting out there? I don't know what the political climate is right now. But
You literally
could you
have
imagine
to.
taking a
You
trip
literally
like
have to
this?
sneak because ever since there were some Americans that like rediscovered it back in the 80s, and it was like a guy who was like working for a Saudi like oil company out there. He was an American engineer, and he like sneaked over there, got all this footage, came back to the States, made it public, and then Saudi Arabia like immediately fenced off the entire area and wouldn't let tourism. And the only people that can get there now are if you like literally sneak in and like risk your life. So
Yeah.
there was
Risk getting riddled, getting Swiss cheesed by an AK-47.
yeah, or like a hostage, which is worse. But yeah, there's recently a guy who snuck in there, like an American YouTuber, and he actually got like insane like drone footage and stuff. I'll have to send you some links if I'm able to find it. But
Yeah, please do. All right,
let's power through this. Yeah.
Even if we don't get to Hebrews, I'm fine with
Yeah.
just getting a chapter of
True
Numbers.
that. True that.
All right, if you remember where we are, I can resume.
I think we're in 15
this.
or 14. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so they set out with their journey, and the lead was the banner of the camp of the descendants of Judah, whose companies moved forward. Over his company was Nachshon, the son of Aminadav. Over the company of the tribe of the descendants of Issachar. I know I'm butchering these. Over the company of the tribe of the descendants of Issachar was Nathaniel, the son of Zar. Over the company of the descendants of Zuvulon was Eliav, the son of Helon. So I guess these are the leaders of the tribes.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
And the tabernacle was taken down, and the descendants of Gershon and the descendants of Merari set out carrying the tabernacle. And that's their job that was outlined a couple chapters ago. Next, the banner of the camp of Reuben moved forward by companies. Over his company was Elitzur, the son of Shedeor. Over the company of the tribe of the descendants of Shimon was Shlomiel, the son of Toshishadai. Over the company of the descendants of Gad was Eliasaph, the son of Duel. Then the descendants of Kahat set out carrying the sanctuary, so that at the next camp the tabernacle could be set up before they arrived. Okay. So yeah, I guess these are the people. So the people who kind of went first were the ones maybe moving I guess not first, because Judah seemed to go first, but early in the transition, the tabernacle and the holy instruments and tents and stuff were carried out so that they could be set up before like the mass bulk of people arrived.
Interesting. Yeah.
It seems like it.
Yeah, symbolically, I mean, it's like leading the camp too.
Yeah, that's true.
Dude, I mean, because like the metaphor is that the ark is like, the tabernacle is the temple, and the ark itself is like the throne of God. So like this people group who holds this entity to be their like God and their king, they're like, walking around the desert carrying it, the throne. It's almost like they're carrying the king on his throne, like everywhere they go.
Yeah. Right, I'm sure that's the symbology. I mean, he states, they have to follow all these like cleanliness guidelines because he lives among them. And I don't think that's like something to make you like feel good going to sleep at night. It's like something about what they had going on. He was physically able to, his spirit was able to exist within their group, based on the tabernacle and the holy treatment of the thrones and the holy people handling the the holy objects and everything. So
let's see
the specifics of what that was.
Let's say 20.
So yeah, I think I'm on. I think I'm actually on 22.
Okay.
The banner at the camp of the descendants of Ephraim moved forward by companies. Over his company was Elishama, the son of Ammihud. Over the company of the tribe of the descendants of Manasseh was Gamliel, the son of Padatsur. Over the company of the descendants of Benjamin was Avidan, the son of Gedoni. The banner at the camp of the descendants of Dan, forming the rear guard for all camps, was moved forward by companies. Over his company was Achiezer, the son of Amishadai. Over the company of the tribe of the descendants of Asher was Pegiah, the son of Acharon. And the company of Naphtali was Achira, the son of Inan. This is how the people of Israel traveled by companies, thus they moved forward. And I think when it means companies, it's kind of grouping them into like into groups of like 3 tribes.
Yeah.
Because the rear guard isn't just one tribe. I don't, and the lead isn't just one tribe. So yeah, they seem to move in the groups of 3 or 4. Dan.
Yeah, it's definitely
4. Yeah, groups of 4. I think 4 tribes at a time.
Yeah, it definitely makes me think of like battle formations, or at least just like an organized, like, why not just go all at the same time, or like why not just like randomly go? Like it has to be so organized.
Yeah, it's organized, it's efficient, it's meaningful. Yeah, there's just not giving off the vibe that he's whatever about their actions and the way they get done what he needs them to get done. Yeah, it's
Totally.
okay. So that's how they moved. They moved out of the they moved into the Paran Desert this way.
Okay. So we got a few more of those until like verse 28, it looks like, and it says, "Thus were the journeyings of the children of Israel according to their armies," King James says, but I think that just means like groups, according to their groups.
Yeah, it says companies for me. Yeah.
When they set forward.
They moved forward.
And Moshe said to Hobab, or something, the son of Reuel, the Midianite. Oh, that's his father-in-law. This said to Hobab, the son of Reuel,
yeah,
the Midianite, Moses' father-in-law. So this might be Moses' brother-in-law. "We are journeying to the place of which Jehovah said, I will give to you. Come with us, and we will do well with you, for Jehovah has spoken good concerning Israel." Or maybe, is this, it's probably clearer in the CJB. Is he talking to his father-in-law right here?
Yeah, his father-in-law.
Okay,
It says, we are. Yeah, and he's inviting him to come to the promised land. And he's like, it's gonna go. If you come with us, things are gonna go well. He's treated us well, and he's promised good things concerning Israel. But he replied, "I will not go. I would rather go back to my own country and my own kinsmen." Moses is upset.
Yeah. Leave us, he says, don't leave. I pray thee, for as much as you know how we are to encamp in the wilderness, and you may be for us eyes. And it shall be, if you go, it shall be that what good Jehovah shall do to us, the same will. This is kind of interesting. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's almost like... actually, dude, give me a second. I gotta get up and get something really quick.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay. Anyway,
all right,
let's
cool.
get
So
through this. And let's see, the 20 or 30...
I think you were going to say something regarding what Moses said to his father-in-law. He said, "Please don't leave us, because you know that we have to go camp in the desert, and you can serve as our eyes. If you do go with us, then whatever good Adonai does for us, we will do the same for you."
Yeah, it's almost like in the King James, it seems to have more of a connotation of like, no, you should stay with us because you know how we camp and how we're organized. It's almost like he knows too much.
Yeah,
that's
like, interesting.
It's like, why don't you just stay? That way you can benefit us. We can keep an eye on you, and you can reap the benefits. And
yeah,
because there's probably a lot.
Yeah, I wonder if it was.
Yeah, because there's probably a lot of people groups that don't even really know that they're there yet. And would be nervous.
Flourishing.
And they would be nervous if they knew and would try to preemptively like attack them or something. I mean, that's basically what happens later as people realize that they're there. Okay, so
cool.
32, and it shall be, if you go with us, it shall be, okay, so 33, and they departed from the mount of Yehovah 3 days' journey, and the ark of the covenant of Jehovah went before them in 3 days' journey to search out a resting place for them. And the cloud of Jehovah was upon them by day when they went out of the camp. And it came to pass when the ark set forward that Moshe said, Rise up, Jehovah, and let your enemies be scattered. Okay? And let them that hate you flee before you. And when it rested, he said, Return, O Jehovah, unto the many thousands of Israel. Cool.
Interesting. So it's kind of saying the ark seems to be almost an independent thing now.
Yeah.
From the way it says it, at least it says that what does it say? Ahead of them on this 3-day journey went the ark of Adonai's covenant, searching for a new place to stop.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the ark is searching, not the people holding it.
Right. Yeah.
And when the ark, and now it's saying it's like it's associating the cloud with the ark now almost, because it says when the ark moved forward, Moses said, Arise, Adonai, may your enemies be scattered.
Mm-hmm.
Not when the cloud moved forward.
Yeah. True. So, true.
It's like equating the cloud and the ark.
Mm-hmm.
Now at this point, it's like those two are working together.
Basically,
they have some kind of relationship going on.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Maybe the cloud was just always over the ark, or it tried to be like, and they were trying to like match the ark with the cloud and to keep and then like the people groups followed the ark because the ark was following the cloud, type of deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
like
they're definitely working in tandem for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, it's up to you, man. Hebrews 4 is pretty short, or we could just save it for like tomorrow.
All right. Well, if you think we have time to get through it, then yeah, for sure, it is short.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Let's dive in.
All right.
I've got it here in front of me.
All right. If you're ready.
Okay. Yeah. So chapter is called "A Sabbath Rest for God's People." Let me choose versions here. All right. A promise of rest. Therefore, since a promise remains of entering his rest. So like we left off in the last chapter, he was saying that like who did God swear that they would not enter his rest, but those who in some versions were disobedient, or in other versions who did not believe. And then now he's saying, therefore, since a promise remains of entering his rest, let us fear lest any of you seem to fall short of it. For indeed, this is huge, dude. For indeed, the gospel was preached to us as well as to them.
Oh, yeah.
But the word which they heard did not profit them, not being mixed with faith in those who heard it. Okay, so I mean, right off the bat, he's saying like the gospel was preached to Israel here at the Mount.
Yeah, it's like they walked the gospel.
Yeah.
Like they physically walked the gospel. You know.
Yeah. Well,
in a way,
a concept that was never ever suggested in Christianity is that the Torah itself is the gospel. But I mean, look.
Right.
But look at this. Like,
yeah, that's crazy.
This is the difference between these guys, these Israelites, and any other ancient pagan society. Is the creator of the universe specifically is like communing with them and trying to shape them and make them his own. And you know how he does that is by giving them his laws.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely the gospel. Yeah. Like that's the saving instruction.
Yeah. And they didn't do him any good because those who heard it did not combine it with trust. That's why they couldn't enter in to the rest that was promised.
Yeah.
At least that generation.
So we have gospel combination of instruction and faith. Torah and trust and Torah.
And they don't do much good individually.
Yeah, exactly.
It would seem.
Cool. So verse 3, for he who have believed do enter that rest, as he has said. So I swore in my wrath, they shall not enter my rest, although the works were finished from the foundation of the world. For he has spoken in a certain place of the seventh day in this way, and God rested on the seventh day from all his works. And again in this place they shall not enter my rest. Since therefore it remains that some must enter it, and those to whom it was first preached did not enter because of disobedience, again he designates a certain day, saying through David, today, after such a long time, as it has been said, today if you will hear his voice, do not harden your hearts.
Yeah.
For if Joshua had given them rest, then he would not afterward have spoken of another day. There remains therefore a rest for the people of God, for he who has entered his rest has himself also ceased from his works, as God did from his. Wow, okay.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like he laid the fabric of all this to happen, and it's not like God had to strain and use his power on the Red Sea. It was like the Red Sea was scheduled to do this. And through Moses, it was like synchronized with Moses through trust. To where it wasn't like a random event that they happened to be a part of. It was like synchronized. But that can only be taken so far because God really emphasizes Moses needing to use his staff to accomplish a lot of these things. But I think a lot of this was almost pre-scheduled to where God's there's not like this not being like invented on the daily. You know what I mean? It's like this was pre-scheduled. And everything. That's why he's resting, and that's why this rest is ongoing for us, because we're in a period of peace and rest right now, at least from the perspective of God, and that means that there's an availability for that rest, and we can either enter it or not. And it wasn't. And what I think Paul's saying here is that this wasn't like a rest period, for strictly the Israelites to try and get into Canaan or whatever the promised land. To fulfill their promise. This is still a period going on now, today.
Yes.
And
I think you're totally right. He's definitely making a comparison between the Israelites actually making it into the promised land, into that rest, and the life of the believer, and then on top of that, he's comparing it to, the precedent God set when he, during creation, worked 6 days and then rested on the seventh. Okay.
Yeah, it's like this was all done in his works, and then but what's it saying? They would not enter the rest is today. And today isn't like a day back in Canaan when Israel was crossing the Red Sea, or or anything. It's almost like a period of time that we're currently in that we could take advantage of spiritual rest.
I totally agree, and I feel like there's several layers. We've got
definitely.
Go away. Because we've got this original, fulfillment with, the Israelites entering into the rest of Canaan, and then we've got, in the believer's life, you've got rest, I think, and then the ultimate rest, I feel like, is because I feel like the Promised Land ultimately kind of represents the kingdom, restored or whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but he's saying pretty clearly right here, entering into Canaan was not the end all be all of what God meant by entering into his rest, because in verse 8 he says, if Joshua had given them that rest, then he wouldn't have been talking later about entering into his rest.
And I think in a way he's also he's also outlining the significance of Yeshua still without even mentioning his name, because similarly that Moses was a Yeshua figure to the people of Israel. The rest wasn't something that was spent back then either, and it's like we're still trying today to enter into his rest and to hear God's voice and not harden our hearts today. It's just like the precursors and the training that Israel has gone through since they left Egypt, and even before, like, to prepare us for the ultimate rest, the ultimate Messiah. You know, it's just like how Moses was like training wheels to get Israel ready for Yeshua, so to speak. It's like that's not the only that wasn't the only precursor training wheels, or like, you know, pre-vibe that, in a way to put it, would it's just like, you know, he's always trying to get us ready for like something bigger. He's trying to give us a small piece of something that's going to be bigger tomorrow. You know, so and that way we recognize it, and and of course the rest comes through Yeshua. So I think he's still talking about Yeshua in a roundabout way here.
Oh yeah,
while also proving history.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. I mean, I think he's talking about works and rest. So like, I feel like this is always what Paul's talking about, like the disparity between religious works and just like trusting faith, like faithful just obedience, like the spirit versus, you know, the just religion. It's like the life of the believer. Like, you should be in rest. Like, you're not working in a religious sense. You're like in Sabbath mode, and you're just like, you're in the spirit.
Yeah.
You know, just doing what the spirit
definitely
says.
Yeah, you're listening.
Yeah, exactly. So 11. Let us therefore be diligent to enter that rest, lest anyone fall according to the same example of disobedience. For the word of God is living and powerful, sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the division of soul and spirit, joints and marrow, and is a discerner of thoughts and intents of the heart. And there is no creature hidden from his sight, but all things are naked and open to the eyes of him to whom we must give account.
Yeah. It's like the word is the DNA. It's like a structure of everything, and it's multidimensional. It's not something that only exists in our realm. The word of God is just like, it's created. It had the ability to create this realm, but it's not like, you know, it's not. It's like impossible for us to really grasp the depth and what it really you know, to be like, this is the word right here, this is all it is, you know. It's like, it's above our heads by its very nature. It's otherworldly, you know.
Yeah, but it's also like exposing, and you know, like reading it, just like, if you're, you know, if you're not being honest with yourself or with God or with other people, and, you know, reading the word of God, it just kind of like pierces through all of that, like, just so like easily. Just like,
yeah, for sure. Yeah, exactly.
Cool. So 14, seeing then that we have a great high priest who has passed through the heavens, Yeshua the Son of God, let us hold fast our confession, for we do not have a high priest who cannot sympathize with our weaknesses, but was in all points tempted as we are, yet without sin. Let us therefore come boldly to the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy and find grace to help in time of need. So,
amen.
Yeah, amen to that.
It definitely is true. Yeshua walking the earth. That's amazing to really, when you read that he was as tempted as we are, throughout his life.
Wow.
And he didn't sin. But it wasn't like he just didn't sin and it was easy. Like, he was tempted as well.
Yeah, totally.
As we were. So that's really amazing. I think that's just part of being. I think that just says that if God himself can walk the earth and be tempted, that there's something about flesh and mortality that is just, you know, is hand in hand with temptation. At least the current state right now.
God, dude, like it's the biggest like energy power structure in all of our lives that nobody talks about and like nobody's supposed to know about is
Yeah.
the sin versus righteousness. Like that's a
Right.
that's a choice that you make like every day, like multiple times within a day, and it's like
Yeah.
the greatest power struggle within all of our
Yeah.
lives that like everyone should be gearing their lives around, but like
Yeah.
nobody thinks
It's
of
like
it
hard
like
to
that.
even yeah, it's hard to even approach people like that because you have to be on the path to sin. If you're not on the path, you're not sinning from the path. You're just I mean, you're on a path of sin if you are, but I mean to really and I think we've talked about this before, like to really feel the weight of sin, you have to be like walking the like God's path. Because
Yeah.
that's where sin is most distinct and contrasted and like damaging.
True.
But if you're just like if you're not on his path at all, if you're not traveling with the body of Israel, then it's like yeah, sin is like harder to really notice. So it's like a lot of people don't have that gauge.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, man.
So,
I can't imagine really. I mean, like, it's not like I'm like Buddha or like have like reached enlightenment or nirvana or anything, but
no.
just like having something to like look forward to and work forward to, and
Oh, yeah.
just
It's like
knowing
that's like I mean that's actually something we need, at this point.
need.
It's like yeah, very much need. So
Yeah.
I can't imagine living without it, and that's why I think that's why there's so much problem in the world. Is because people just don't know what to do with that like hunger to
Yeah,
to grow in a way. It's like so they find the wrong ways to grow and spread. But there's one right way to do it, and
so
and,
much
yeah, you really have to start
anxiety.
from scratch.
So much anxiety and so much like just depression and like unfulfilled
Yeah.
like searching for something, not really finding it, not being satisfied, and just kind of
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
wallowing in that.
and even yeah, right, what you said, even worse, like successfully well, searching for something and then like successfully, from the terms of the world, accomplishing a path and flourishing, and you still don't feel satisfied.
Right.
And then there's people who are like baroque with just like barely have the cloths on their back holding together, and they're like the most peaceful, happy people in the world. So it's like that's really that's a stark difference, and people see that.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
there's a lot of unhappy successful people that but I mean that's the only framework we're given, and so people just like jump in and dive into that and try and get like they associate that hunger with like that like busybody capitalism and like pursuit of whatever, and they're off base, and so when they attain their goal, when they thought that the goal they thought was going to make them peaceful and happy, it doesn't, and it's like, well shit, what have I been doing for the past 30 years?
I know. Yeah. Like, because we want to work. I mean, it's like, but we want to work like for the kingdom, because
Exactly,
we know that it won't be a waste, and we're not really working like for ourselves.
Yeah, right. That's where
Yeah.
the real satisfaction comes from, man.
For sure. But it's I better get ready and stuff.
Yeah, you
so
better-
I'll let you go.
Yeah, better let you get off. Well, yeah, we'll get the files back and forth like after work or something tonight.
Yeah, or I could send them to you like while I'm at work, actually. But
Oh, true. Yeah. All right, that
Yeah,
works.
yeah.
Well, yeah, just text me and stuff.
sounds good, man. All right, love you. Good study. I'll catch you later. Bye.